In this video, I challenge a professional painter at a painting competition, and all in the hopes of getting better. Help, please. How's it going, guys? My name is Matt. This is my beard. Fork mic is back. Sorry about the cringy intro, but it's true. I challenged a professional painter. Now, in this video, I'm going to be painting up a diorama of two models from Necromunda, which is the Cadaver Merchant and the Narca. And it'll be done in a 4" by 4" square diorama setting. So like a custom scene, basically. And it's all to do with a challenge that myself and Graham, who you may know as Aquila Painting, we both kind of agreed to. We wanted to have a bit of fun and do quite a collaboration type idea. So this video is the outcome of this challenge. Now, when we started discussing this a few months ago, we needed to decide upon the models, two needed to decide upon some loose rules, like, the size of the diorama base and all that sort of stuff. But then we wanted to put our own personal twists in it. So Graham, being the professional painter, he wanted to challenge me, and kind of himself really, even though this is his wheelhouse, in spades. He wanted to challenge me to use a limited palette, which was quite an interesting twist on things. Now, Graham did send a letter which kind of outlines everything. And to summarise, basically, it's... in fact, I'm going to read it and we'll take it from there. So, to my new friend and brother in the hobby, Relentless Matt. In this top secret and seductively wrapped package, I have 6 paints, 5 colours and 1 metallic, and the new Battlefield Trophies box. I challenge you to paint to the best of your ability the chosen Munda minis in a mini diorama, not including the base and plinth, and only using the paints I have provided. So what we mean by that is, only the models we have the limited palette for, the base or the plinth we can go to town with, we can use whatever paints we want. So the paints he's chosen are 3 primary colours to see what other colours I can mix up, a nice brown and a muted green for some added challenge. The only other colours that I may use are black and white, as they are technically the absence and abundance of light, so go nuts. So, on that note, the colours that I've been provided, the metallic is VGC's silver, so this is Vallejo Game Colours silver, VGC's bloody red, which is more on the orangey side of red than the darker side of red. Then we have the rest are Citadel colours, which is a Macragge blue, a Uriel yellow, and a really cool green, which I actually really like. This one's called Deathworld Forest, and I hadn't seen this paint before, but I love it. It's a really kind of pale, sickly green, and that's really interesting, so I look forward to having a little play with that. Then finally, the brown, which is Doombull Brown. So that's my limited palette. So that's the palette that I've got to play with. Happy painting, my bro. I can't wait to see what you do, and I'll see you at the finish line. All the best, Graham, Aquila Painting. P.S. I've also thrown in my first stickers, and I mean the very first ones to be sent out. I hope you like. Well, naturally I do, and I'll show you guys that now, but I have actually put it on my cutting mat, so thank you very much, Graham, I really appreciate it. I sent you some stickers too, so I hope you enjoyed them. Now, this box, there was a little bit of a mistake with this box, because when we were planning all this out, we were meant to be sending the trophies box, which is the skulls, heads, trophies, that sort of stuff, really recently released from Games Workshop. We were sending the 5 colours plus the metallic, so that's fine. But we were also sending the models to each other, because the whole idea was you opened the box, you had all of the things, and you could only effectively use what was in that box outside of your paintbrushes and the black and white. So there was a bit of a mistake on Graham's part, unfortunately, and when I told him of this, he couldn't believe it. It was hilarious. So I actually recorded it. So on screen now, well, enjoy.
How's it going, bud?
Not bad, man. How are you?
Yeah, not too bad, not too bad. What do you need?
I need some models, mate. I've got some paint and I've got some the trophy set, but you haven't put the models in.
There's no swearing on my channel, but you can imagine what the rest of that sentence said. Now, with this all in mind, that brings us pretty much to today. Now, what I will tell you is that this video has been a few weeks in the making, and there's been some stuff going on in my own personal life which I don't really want to get into. I'm fine, and everything is fine, but I've had quite a lot of external stress and external pressure that I've had to deal with, and that seems to be relieving itself now, so that's fine, but just know that all of that coincides with this issue. So this is actually the 4th iteration of this video. The first iteration I lost the footage because I changed device. The second iteration I lost some of the footage, but it was my own fault because I accidentally deleted like loads of files, including like a handful of the clips, so that was knackered. The third iteration, I forgot to turn the mic on. So there was like a 14-minute clip of me going, that was just stupid. And then there's this clip, or this video. Yes, on the third time when I didn't record the audio, I did get really annoyed and turn all my things off and throw me toys out the pram, basically. It was stupid. But that also does mean that I've done a lot up until the point of recording this. So the progress report so far. On screen now, you will see some time lapses of me prepping the plinth, the base. This was my twist on the challenge. Graham's was the painting twist, mine was the basing twist. I really love a good base, and I wanted to see what I could do, really. And this kind of come out alright. So what I've done is I've created a 4" by 4" Zoom Mortalis tile, which has a bulkhead door and another bit of tile at the back to create the section of a room. But then I've added a few little bits and bobs, like a couple of styrene pipes and a few plastic bits and bobs and gubbins from some of the terrain kits for Necromunda. And all in all, I've created the Cadaver Merchant's disposal vat, or his corpse farm or corpse vat, which is a large pipe in the floor. And the whole idea is there's a little computer terminal to its right, which you type in your password, the pipe opens up, you throw your cadaver or your corpses down into the hole, and once you've done that, that closes up, and then there's a big flushing mechanism over the top, which is the 2 pipes above that pipe. And then there's a couple of nice little skulls adorning everywhere. There's 1 skull in a pipe, there's a couple of skulls in the console area, and there's a servo skull in front of all of this, in front of a styrene gate that I've created, and then also there's a skull hidden behind a little pile of crates. So that's what I've done regarding the diorama. Now that is a very quick whistle stop tour, but as I've said, there's been some issues with the video side of things on this, and with this being a collaboration, I'm quite embarrassed by this. I'm quite upset by it as well, and it's kind of caused a bit of a mental sort of strain, but I'm just going to plow on, and the focus is going to be to the end of the video because I managed to get something quite special sorted out for the end of this video, so I hope you enjoy that. So for the here and now, we are at the stage of base coat. So we've base coated everything. So the Narca and the Cadaver Merchant, they've both been base coated with the matte black from the Colourforge. And if you want to get yourselves some matte black or any of the Colourforge range, use my link tree and use my affiliate link. It costs you nothing more, but it gives me a little bit of kickback. Thank you very much for that. And the next steps, I'm going to get the diorama done. So I'm going to get the diorama just painted. I'm going to get that boxed off. That needs doing. There's a lot of square footage to get through. So I'm going to get it all painted up, get that put to one side. I'm going to probably put some oils on there as well. I'm just going to do a couple of time lapses and a couple of little clips of me painting here and there. But for the here and now, I just want to get that out of the way and done. And then finally, we're going to move on to the limited palette for the Cadaver Merchant and the Narca. And again, I'm going to put a few clips here and there of me, speeding through it. However, I do have something very special for the reveal at the end of this video. So, hang around for that. I think you'll like it. It may include a special guest. A really special guest. An upside down special guest. So there we go. Right, without further ado, let's get painting. Let's get this diorama, the Cadaver Merchant, and the Narca done. And that's the diorama kind of done. I've just got to do 2 or 3 small details, but I've got to wait until the matte varnish has completely done. It looks really cool. I'm really happy with how it all sort of tied together in the end. That mixture of the AK Interactive Streak and Grime coupled with the matte varnish, it just adds that sort of really dark aesthetic which I'm used to and which I love. And then obviously the usage of Yoo-hoo glue on the pipe going down into the vat, like the corpse vat. I'm going to grime that up with some Blood for the Blood God, but obviously I've got to wait for that all to sort of dry. So there will be some Blood for the Blood God added in, and there's a couple of little details on the skulls that I need to do, and also the servo skull needs like highlighting out. But those are things that are going to stand out, and those are points of intrigue, so I'm really looking forward to that. So the next point of order is getting these 2 models done, so the Narca and the Cadaver Merchant. Now this is going to be the challenge really. I'm going to have a play around with the limited palette and see what I can come up with. Now the real challenge is really working out how I'm going to do a flesh tone out of these colours. Now I should be able to mix something up, because the brown, the green, the yellow together in my head makes sort of a flesh if you heighten up the yellow side of things. But I could be wrong, because with skin tone or flesh tone for a Caucasian person, you're kind of looking at like an olive undertone with sort of your lighter browns as the facial colour. Because when you look at a Caucasian skin or Caucasian flesh tone, it kind of doesn't really, it's not pink. And that's the thing that people kind of forget. It's not pink or cream. There are undertones on the skin. So it's going to be interesting to try and pick that out of the limited palette. But then for the actual clothing, I've obviously got other colours to play with. So without further ado, I'm going to jump straight into it. I'm keen to get this finished. Now, I'm kind of in 2 minds about the Narca. I like it, but I also really hate it at the same time, and I don't know if it's actually got place in this model or in this diorama. We'll see. But for now, I'm going to focus on getting the. I don't know. I really don't know. Right, I'll tell you what, I'm gonna paint the Narca first, and if I don't like it, I'm not gonna use it. Simple. Right, let's crack on. Right, this is the bit that I've kind of been dreading. As you can imagine, it's a bit scary for me using a limited palette because I'm so used to having the entirety of my colour range accessible to me. However, let's have a little play. Now, obviously we do have our black and our white. I'm going to use the VGC Dead White and Black. I'm going to put the colours on the palette. Now this is a fresh palette, obviously I didn't want to taint it. And we're going to give this a try. Now, for reference, we obviously have the cover art, and that'll help me define where my values are going to be, and it'll help me define not necessarily what colours, but where I need to be applying colour. So I'm going to keep that to one side and we'll have a play around. So let's just keep it simple. I'm just going to go one by one in the palette and we'll see how it looks. So we'll take a nice little lump of that. I'll take a shaken lump of this. I'll take a nice lump of this. A little bit more. And then we'll take a nice lump of this. A little dollop of this. That's quite orange. Right, okay. Now I'm not going to put the silver on the palette. I don't need silver yet, okay? Now, my thought is, let's have a little play with a little bit of blue, a little bit of green. Mix that up. That's kind of like a bit of a teal green. And then let's try a bit of yellow perhaps. See how that looks. That's like a baby sick green. So what if we add in some red? Okay, so that's like a really sort of light orange. So if I wanted to graduate that up more, let's see about some white. Pop a bit of white on the palette and mix that in. Right, skin tone. Oh, I'm so happy about that. Right, okay. Right, awesome. I am a happy badger. I just wanted to try and find that base brown that I could create my skin tone with. And now that I've got a skin tone to work with, that's actually really nice as well. I really like that. Now I've got a skin tone to work with, I'm going to apply that to both of the models. So the Cadaver Merchant, sorry, the Narca, we're looking at doing skin. So skin values here. That's actually a really nice skin tone as well. And skin tone on the face. So I'll just move on to the face now. Just finish off these last little bits. Now the face is quite hidden, so I'm not going to be doing much in the way of detail on the face, thankfully. But there we go. just put some of that in there, and on the tips of the fingers. I just need to check around on the elbow and take it from there. And then also we can see that this arm as well, so let us, there's a band in the middle of it, so we'll just do the hand first, then the thumb, and then the forearm. And we can tidy this up obviously as we go, so that's fine. Right, and the palm of the hand. There we go, that's that. Right. Might require a second coat, but outside of that, I'm happy. And then there's no more skin on her. Let's try Brutus, big old boyo. So his chest is all skin, and then he's got some stuff on his face going on as well. And he's got his arm. So let's just crack on with that and see how we get on. I'm really quite happy with how that blend worked, by the way. Like, my thought process was more along the lines of like the olive green, so this green and the blue, that would sort of neutralize each other in a sense of like green is your olive tone, or your undertone for a Caucasian skin tone, and then you've got like you also have a blue hue within your own flesh tone, which I know that sounds a bit odd, but that's just how it works. And overall, you've got like, how can I explain it? Like that blue tone helps bring out the cooler aspects and the more shadow tones of your skin. But then when I started adding the yellow in, I thought that if I added these three together, it would kind of help get to a nicer skin tone than that. But all it was just using the white to blend up. So I was quite happy with that. And obviously the red just brings in the rosy tones. So let us get these, let's get the skin tone done. And we'll take it from there. Because this, I'm just doing a rough sort of guideline as to where it is. I don't particularly care about being neat at this stage. I just want to get the skin tone on, so it's on, and then I can concentrate and have fun on the rest of the model. That's all back as well, so I'll just get that in, block that in. Now, this is where it's going to get a bit interesting. I need to make some more skin tone. Hopefully I can do that without being, because I just did little wicks, didn't I? So let's try it again. So a little bit of green, a bit more green, a little bit of blue, a little bit of blue. That was the baby sick. A little bit of yellow. That was the vomit. A little bit of red. A little bit more red. And then there we go. We're getting up there. More white, please. Much more white, please. Even more white, please. Dear me. There we go. It's a little bit less fleshy, like rosy. That's fine. A bit more white just for good measure. Right, that should do it. I'm going to add more white. There we go. Right, second coat with this colour, and then it'll just be detail work. This is actually a really nice colour. I think I've just accidentally unlocked my new flesh tone for when I'm painting flesh, because this is actually gorgeous. How nice is that? It helps that this guy's like bald as anything. So there we go. Job's good. Right. Okay. I'm going to go back over her with this new sort of flesh tone. Because it is quite nice. And then I think I'm going to just time-lapse the rest of this paint job. And I tell you for why. I want to play around with these colours, and I want to make sure that when I'm doing the rest of these models, well, the rest of these colours, I am doing a good job, and I don't want to just sit and stutter at the camera. So, with that in mind, I'm going to get going. Enjoy what madness ensues. So now we get onto the Cadaver Merchant. Now the Cadaver Merchant is going to be an interesting one because there's three parts to him. The first part is obviously the Cadaver Merchant himself with his apron and his chain sword. Now, or his chain cleave or whatever this actually is. I don't actually know what this weapon is. Now I have actually had to repair it because as I was handling it earlier on, the handle snapped. So that's had a little drill through it and now it should be okay. There's also a scroll and there's also the body bag, but there's also this back area here. So this is going to be a darker metallic. This is going to be like a cloth colour, and I've got to work out how to make a cloth colour out of this lot here. I'm thinking it'll be like a light brown coupled with some yellow, but we'll get to that point soon. Then obviously there's the leather straps, and that's and his pantaloons and his gloves. Now his gloves I think I'm going to try and keep very similar to what's on the box art, because the box art is like a bluey grey and that looks really cool. I quite like it. So I've got a fresh palette, and what we're going to do, I'm going to put the colours on the palette again and we'll take it from there. But overall I'm just going to give this a fair whack and see what I can come up with. So without further ado, let's jump into this guy. And then it was done. This was a huge challenge. I'm not even going to sit here and pretend it wasn't. A limited palette was hard, but then it became intuitive and it was really weird. Like I started thinking, okay, well, what do I need to do to this color to move it in the right direction? So for example, for the body bag on the Cadaver Merchant, I created this sort of sandy, creamy color, And then I realised, well, actually, if I just take some of that out, add a little bit of black, or add a little bit of the darker brown to darken it back, and then add some water in, that's a wash. And I did the same with a black, and I did the same with like a grey that I made. And so I actually ended up making my own sort of washes and glazes to give it that depth. And I'm really quite impressed with how it came out. Now, I did promise something at the start of the video, which was something quite special for the end. I don't know if you guys are familiar. I hope you are, because this particular podcast is phenomenal. But I managed to get Spamuel from the Underhive Lorekeepers podcast to do a little bit of a narration piece for the reveal of my Cadaver Merchant and Narca diorama. So without further ado, Spamuel, over to you.
Those shotgun happy hooligans from House Orlock have a saying: my gang before my house before the rest. But the bonds of battle only take you so far, especially once you've looted the corpse. Burial isn't as common as you'd think in the Underhive. Bodies tend to be earmarked for more mercantile methods of disposal. Enter from stage right, the Cadaver Merchant. These unscrupulous members of Underhive society specialise in the buying and selling of the dead, or those near enough for it to not really matter anymore. With cold hard creds easier to hang on to for a gang than the bodies of their fallen, Cadaver merchants ply their ghoulish trade in the spaces that typically fall to the Mercator Palladus. Though what it is they're doing with the bodies, that is best left to the imagination. My old prime would often say that even the most stoic ganger was a gossip once they were in their cups. But there's no better way to get info from the lesser houses than by drowning their sensibilities in second best, and nobody works an alehouse like a narca. They might not be the toughest hanger-on in the crew, but what they lack in punch, they make up for with secrets brought forth from adversaries left none the wiser. Secrets that can turn the tide of almost any battle. What is it they say out in some city? That's it. Loose lips sink some ships.
What can I say? When I first heard that audio clip, I was absolutely blown away. So for those who don't know, that's Spamuel from the Underhive Lorekeepers podcast. And when I asked him to do this a few months ago, he was elated. He just jumped straight on it, and literally within 2 days, I had that clip in my inbox, ready to rock and roll. But not just his audio, as in the bottle clinks and the background chatter, and that whole clip he created from scratch specifically for this video. So Spam, thank you so much. Genuinely, man, it was really awesome. And when I first heard it, it just the hair on the back of my head stood up. I loved it. And to that note, I also now want to thank Graham. Graham and I have been speaking about this for a while, and we've been working on this for quite a while. And it's been quite an exciting time for me, because obviously I'm pushing myself to do the best I can with my hobby, but also because Graham was nice enough to say yes and to help me, but also kind of come back to YouTube himself. And it was quite nice. It was nice to see that we were both on our own mental health journey in one way, shape or form. And that culmination has really, really helped. So Burnt Aquila Painting, follow him on Instagram, follow him on YouTube, so give him a subscribe. He's even on TikTok. I don't understand TikTok, but he's on TikTok, and yeah, follow them on there too. All the links will be in the description of this video, and also for Spam and the Underhive Lorekeepers podcast. Give them a follow on Instagram, and also follow them on Spotify, rate them 5 stars, and tell them that Matt sent you. But anyway, outside of that, I think that's where we're going to leave today's video. Now, there is one last thing I would like to announce, which is something that I've been working on in the background, which is I now have a Patreon. So if you'd like to support the channel and you'd like to help me grow the channel and, you know, do more things like this challenge video with more creators, then please feel free to jump over to my Patreon. And yeah, every little helps basically. The main crux and the reason why you'd want to go there is that is where I'm going to be, well, I've already started. That's where I'm chronicling Underlord Mateus's character development and that project, because that's changed so much of my perception of this hobby that I'm really, really invested in, like the headcanon and the lore that I'm creating for this character, and then the characters surrounding Underlord Mateus. I've been, you know, messing around and doing some artwork. I'm going to be commissioning some people to do some actual artwork for me as well. I'm looking to help build a narrative of his campaign and make, you know, some campaigns surrounding what, you know, what he does and what he's about. Like, I've got some really, really cool stuff planned, and honestly, like, if you guys want to support me through that journey, please feel free to jump over to the Patreon, drop a follow on there. I think, is it follow or subscription or something like that? I can't remember what the correct term is, but yeah, feel free to do the Patreon thing, and yeah, there'll be weekly updates on where I'm at and what I'm doing and all that sort of thing. But outside of that, guys, that's it for this week's video. Now, this is a tandem video, so I would like you now to go and watch the other one, which is Graham's video on Aquila Painting's YouTube channel. So go and watch that. Outside of that, please feel free to, you know, like the video if you've liked this video. Feel free to subscribe if you're new around here and you haven't done so already. Feel free to follow me on Instagram. I'm trying to be a lot more sort of present on that, so that's been really fun. But also go over to Underhive Lorekeepers and go over to Aquila Painting and give them a follow and a subscribe and all that sort of stuff. Both of them amazing content creators in their own right. And not to forget Nathan as well from Underhive Lorekeepers, because, you know, we can't leave him out. He's top notch as well. But that's it from me, guys. I've been Matt. This has been my beard. This has been the fork mic, and I hope you've enjoyed this one. This has been a sick one to do. I'll catch you later.